back to another episode of Our No Simple Lives podcast. And we're in week 3 of the podcast. It's crazy how fast everything goes. You know, like we were like planning this rebrand for so long and everything leading up to it and everything, all the excitement. And now it's like all of a sudden here we are in week 3,
I know.
you know?
So crazy.
So I know for the past couple episodes, we've talked, everything's been really cohesive, which I've really loved because it's really been just kind of a journey. Like, if you've listened to our first 4 episodes, it really was about, you know, where we were in 2020 versus now, what we've learned, like me and Delaney in those 2 episodes, and then like what we were talking about in our first episodes we did ever on our Not Simple Life podcast back in 2020 and how we've progressed since then. So we've really been talking about a lot of self-healing, a lot of growth, a lot of what we've been experiencing in our lives. And we wanted to kind of do, I mean, this podcast is going to be a lot of that, but we wanted to do one more topic that we've touched on a little bit in our first couple episodes, but we haven't really dove deep into it. And it's going to be kind of a story time. So if you guys like stories, this is definitely going to be one of those story time episodes. I know it was a couple months ago now, so it's not as relevant as it would be. But if you're watching on YouTube, you see that I'm wearing my Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair shirt, WWE, and it's from WrestleMania. And this is relevant. It's not going to be a wrestling episode, don't worry. I mean, kind of. But we're talking about doing things solo because this is something that I think me and you can both attest to, that we really didn't do much back in like 2020 or in our younger years, even more recently than that.
I feel like not a lot of people do this. Like doing things by themselves. Like you may do things by yourself to a certain extent, but I feel like a lot of people, like most people, probably haven't been on a solo like trip by themselves.
People usually do like things that need to get done by themselves.
Yeah.
Nothing that's like leisurely, you know, like nothing that is like optional. A lot of people don't do by themselves, you know, and I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe it's a little bit mixed because I do know a lot of very independent people, but I think to take a solo trip, just not for work, not to see friends or family, just to take like a trip completely solo, I don't really know a lot of people that have done that.
No,
just have gone out of their way to book a solo trip that wasn't for any other reason, purely just because they wanted to experience something. And even like a solo trip being like getting on a plane. Like, because there's a lot of people I feel like that have driven places to go somewhere solo. I mean, I'll admit, I mean, we're very open and honest. This wasn't supposed to be a solo trip. But it ended up being a solo trip, but it was very much like a highs and lows sort of thing.
Originally intended, it was gonna be a solo
It was
trip,
actually,
but then you thought you were gonna have some company later on, and then that ended up falling through. So it ended up truly being a solo trip.
Well, so WrestleMania was in Las Vegas, and we're living in San Diego. And so I was like, well, this is such a quick plane ride. It was like so weird because it was only like a 30 to 40-minute plane ride. It was literally like up and down. It was really weird.
Yeah.
But I was in like my final semester of school, my final semester of classes, but I had booked this a year in advance, and I wanted to go really badly because we've been to a WrestleMania before, but we didn't really do anything other than go to the event, and we had nosebleed seats. So I wanted to meet a couple of the people, a couple of the, you know, superstars, and I wanted to just experience it in Vegas because everything's very walkable in Vegas, you know?
Right.
So I booked it as soon as I found out they were doing it in Vegas. And originally, like you said, it was going to be a solo trip. Like, I didn't have anyone else planned, but I did buy or book a room with 2 double beds because I was like, well, somebody will come. Like, I don't know who, but somebody will come. And so, yeah, then it ended up getting like up into that moment. And what's crazy is it was an experience that was wild because there was extreme highs and there was extreme lows. I think that wasn't helping was I was sick. So I got sick like 2 to 3 weeks before I went. and it was just kind of like a cold, but I remember laying in bed and I had like chills and everything. And I remember being like, okay, like at least if I'm gonna get sick, at least it's now. And I'll be better by the time I'm in Vegas. I thought it was gonna be better, but I'll admit, like sometimes when I'm sick, I don't take the best care of myself. Like the minute I feel a little bit better, like I'm just go, go, go. And
Mhm.
I'm back to work, I'm back to doing things. Like I sometimes don't let my body take enough rest that it needs, like unless I'm very, very sick, which I was for the first few days. But once I was like waking up and I was like, okay, I feel better, then all of a sudden I act like I'm back to normal,
Yeah.
which I'm not. I need to take a little more time. So I think that's what happened. I was better for a week, and then right up until the trip, my symptoms came back.
Uh-huh.
And so I woke up for my flight, and it was like a really early flight, which always gives me anxiety. Like, because you have to wake up really early in the morning, you don't
Mhm.
get a lot of sleep. So I remember I was struggling with a lot of anxiety at the airport. Like and even on the plane, like I was having really bad anxiety. And I think it's because of I drank caffeine. And I don't know what it is, but sometimes these days caffeine gives me really bad anxiety. And I'm sure
Caffeine can make you very anxious,
yeah.
especially if you're already anxious. Drinking
Yes.
caffeine is not the best because it just kind of spirals you like more. It just makes you more anxious, gives you more anxiety. So yeah, that probably didn't help.
So I remember I was in the airport and I usually always go to well, I ended up exploring the airport a lot, like when I went to go to Tampa because I had
Mhm.
my flight was delayed. And so I explored all of like San Diego airport and I realized a whole new world, that there's a whole other section of the airport that I've never been to before.
Really?
Like I always go out the same area of the airport, because if you live in San Diego or if you've flown in, you know San Diego airport is so nice because it's so small.
It is
Even
small.
though it's an international airport, it's very small, it's very intimate. So I always go to the same few gates every time I fly.
Yeah.
So I had like maybe like 2 hours to kill because my flight was delayed. This wasn't going to Vegas, this was going to Tampa like a few weeks after Vegas. And so I was just walking around and I discovered this whole new area of the airport. And I was like, wow, there's a Starbucks, there's all this other stuff. And I was like, it's kind of a nicer part of the airport too.
I know exactly where you're
Yeah,
talking
it's a
about.
nicer part of the airport too, because the one I fly out of, like, it's still nice, but it's just very like bland. This had like a lot of fun, like windows and like architecture and stuff.
It's the area where it's like the little dome, like in the back, like it's like a little
Like that little
circle area.
circle, and there's a fountain, I think,
I've
and there's a
flown out of
couple
there
of
before.
restaurants.
Yeah.
And so I just was exploring this side of the airport, and I was like, I never knew this existed. This is so crazy. So
That's so funny because I've flown out of there, like that area, to fly to Chicago.
really, I've
Yeah.
never flown out of that area before. So I thought there's a whole sitting area, guys, a whole food court. I was like,
There's
where
a
has this been all my
pretty
life?
sure there's like a bar restaurant
There's a
there.
bar. And so I'm
I thought
like,
you knew that was there. That's so
no,
funny.
I was literally like so excited because I was like, oh my God, something new I can explore during this flight
If
delay.
you haven't been to San Diego Airport, it really is so
It's
small.
so small.
And that's what I loved about it before I moved here. Like when I would come visit you all the time, I was
Hmm.
like, I love going to the airport because it's so small and it's so intimate. Like I knew exactly where to go every single time
It's
I came.
so easy, and security is usually really easy, but I feel like the flights are always so early out of San Diego.
Yeah.
So like there was multiple different combinations what attributed to my anxiety that day. So I had an early morning flight. I can't exactly remember what time my flight took off, but I know I woke up at some crazy hour like 5 a.m. or something like that. So already I'm sleep deprived. That
Yeah.
already I know causes sometimes anxiety. Then I woke up feeling sick again. Well, I was struggling with being sick, so I was waking up not feeling the best.
Mhm.
Then the person I was with the night before, or not with, like the person I was supposed to go with, said, "Hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it." So then there was that anxiety of like, "Oh my God, I'm going to have to do this alone." Then I, get to the airport and I'm drinking a matcha from Pete's, which I usually always go to that Pete's Coffee and get a
Mhm.
matcha and like a sandwich or something. So I feel like it was, and then number five is I was in my last semester of college. It
Yeah.
was like 2 weeks before I was supposed to graduate. So there was just multiple different things that attributed to my anxiety or attributed to my anxiety that day. And so I remember sitting at the gate and I'm like just having almost like a panic attack
Yeah.
because
Oof.
I'm like, I've never traveled solo before. Vegas is fine, but it's a little dangerous. I had to take like lifts around to a couple places that I wanted to go. And it's just the anxiety of like going to this event by yourself because I was supposed to go to like some fan event for for WrestleMania to meet Nikki Bella and a couple of the other girls. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to do all this alone. This is a lot. I'm not feeling well. So I get on the plane and I feel like the anxiety gets worse because the plane is really small.
Yeah.
And when I was like, oh my gosh, then there was the anxiety because I hadn't flown since that whole plane crash thing too. So
Mm.
that was kind of in the back of my mind too, of like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
And
I think
that's
there was just so much shit
too
going on in my head that I was like, what am I doing? I have so much anxiety right now. I was sweating. I literally had to reach over and turn the freaking vent on
Oh yeah.
because I was like sweating so bad. And I had to like take deep breaths to calm myself down because I was like, I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. And it was a lot. It was
Yeah.
a lot. So I'm not here to say like, oh my God, solo trips are so easy. Go out there and do it. I want to bring the human aspect to it because for me, like people that are I like to think I'm an independent person to an extent, but for people that have never traveled solo or, think that it's super easy and have done it, like they might think that I'm being a little ridiculous. But I think there were multiple different things that,
There
contributed to
I was
this.
like there was a lot of things going on in your own personal life that was
Yeah.
contributing to your anxiety and just being anxious. And I think like being sick on top of it all, like probably I'm just imagining me in your shoes, and I think being sick, I feel like that would really put me down in the dumps,
Yeah, I did not feel well.
especially if I was like by myself, cuz I've 8 out of 10 times when I travel by myself.
Yeah.
And but like I, go to the airport, I wait, go through security, wait at my gate like by myself. Like 8 out of 10 times like I'm traveling by myself. And I've gotten used to that. I've traveled by myself like on a plane for a long time because I used to go to Florida every year like in January, and I would have to meet up like with my grandparents or with my cousin, but I would always travel by myself, and I was doing that at like 18,
Yeah, no,
you
you
know.
like I've done it so much where I've gone on a plane to go see family or friends and
I
traveled by myself on the plane. But
Yeah.
it's just the fact that you're not because I mean, I'll admit, like it's more fun having someone to do something with.
It's always more fun to have
Especially in a
someone,
place like
you know.
Vegas where everyone's with their friends or, everyone has like someone to do stuff with.
Vegas is like the
And
party place.
it's
Like
party place, and so if I was going somewhere maybe more naturey, like I think maybe it would have been a little bit more relaxed, but it's the
yeah.
fact that it was Vegas and I was like walking around and everyone was like doing something with another person.
Yeah.
That was a little weird. But anyway, so I land, it was like I said, super quick. And I get in my lift, I go to my hotel. I stayed at Paris, which was really nice. I love Paris.
We love Paris. I love
And
that hotel.
yeah, it was really nice and it was an affordable price too.
Nice.
I paid like I don't know, a fee to check in early
Mhm.
cuz I was like, well, it was only like 9 a.m. or something, like 9:30, maybe 10 when I
They
landed.
make you pay a fee to check in
I
early?
guess so. I was like, damn, okay. But I didn't want to like
Next
walk
time
around with
just
my bag and everything and I just
slide a
wanted
20 or maybe a 50. They'll upgrade you.
I guess I maybe should have done that, but I
Anyone
didn't really
that's been
think
to
about it.
Vegas, you know what I'm talking about. You
I
know
didn't
what
really think about it because I was just like,
I'm
well, I just want to like chill and relax. Like, I don't want to have to like, you know, like just walk around with all my stuff.
I
So I got up to my room and I was like, okay, it was a lot of talking to myself, like talking myself through it. Like, okay, I want to go do stuff. Like, let me go and just start exploring.
Mhm.
So I went to go get my wristband for the event and I ended up going to the Cheesecake Factory by myself. I had never gone out to eat before by myself.
Yeah.
But I knew that wasn't going to be weird because I work at a restaurant and so many people go to eat alone.
Oh my god. I was like
So it's not even that big of a deal.
there's
But
so many people that eat by themselves, and I like as a server like at the time like I didn't think anything of it.
no, I
Like
don't
I
think
thought
it's weird at all.
I'm just like I think like maybe they're on their lunch break or something, or maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
like, just doing their own thing. Like I don't think anything of it. I know maybe some people are like, "Oh my god, like why are you here by yourself eating but like by yourself?" Like I don't that's not my first like thought like when I would serve people who were by
Yeah, and
themselves.
it's like at the end of the day, nobody really cares. I think that's what is a big thing that like I've learned too is that I feel like so often we're like, oh, are people judging me or like everyone's staring at me, but really everyone's doing their own thing. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting at the Cheesecake Factory, like, and that was a big thing for me because, like I said, I'd never done that before. Actually, I think I lied. I have gone out to eat once before, but it was at IHOP, and I sat outside on the patio, so it felt a little more chill. It wasn't like in a restaurant. It
Yeah.
was, but I was like on the patio outside
Well,
in Anaheim.
cheesecake I would say is a little more higher skill than IHOP.
Exactly. It was like freaking 10 a.m. and I wanted pancakes and a
Mhm.
coffee, like
Yeah.
in Anaheim, at the convention they used to go to with my mom.
Right.
So, anyways, so I think that was big in itself. I went to the event, got my wristband, and then actually going to the event, I walked everywhere. Like, I feel like I was walking like 15,000 steps a day.
You probably were.
Or like I've something
Knowing
ridiculous. I posted it on my story and was like, honestly, this is so me because I'm such a
I was
walker.
like, you walk so much, I'm not
I
surprised.
think I walked one day like 19,000. I'll have to fact check myself and look back in the archives, but it was something ridiculous
Yeah.
enough where I posted it on my story like, what the hell am I doing? So then you add that in
Yeah.
where I'm walking everywhere, it's kind of hot, I'm
And you're
sick.
sick.
So that's the
Yeah.
thing is that when you're sick, you have this like sometimes blurry head.
Yeah.
But anyways, so the event I went to, I met Katana Chance and Kaden Carter first,
Mhm.
and they unfortunately got released. They're no longer with WWE, but it was cool meeting them. And we vibed really well. I was like, "Oh my god, love your outfits," and they were like, "Oh my god, love you." And then it was so awkward because it was one of these lines where so I usually just watch the girls and I felt so disrespectful, guys. Like this is so bad, but so there was this line, right? And there was like Katana and Kaden, and they were a tag team, so they were like a joint meet. And then there
Mhm.
was like this older guy who was like a legend, who was like a manager in like the 80s or something. And I know who he is, but like I really did not want to take a picture with him. So because I was like,
Did you have to?
well, okay, so I was hoping to see someone else just go to either some of the like
Wait, so
straight male friends like or straight male wrestling fans like don't watch the girls maybe, so they would skip them and go to him. No
mm,
one skipped anybody, and I'm like, I could go take a picture with this man, but I really just don't want
I
to.
would have just done it just to be like
I know. I
res-
was like,
just to be
fuck.
like oh, he's there
Respectful.
too, like just take one picture and
I should have. I
you
felt so bad,
didn't.
but no, I didn't. So guys, I walked up to Katana and Kaden, took a picture with them, and it was a little busy because they were moving the line through. Because this is when you didn't have to buy tickets for it. It was just kind of first come, first serve. So they were
Yeah.
only there for an hour.
Uh-huh.
So then the man, like, I'm not gonna say who it was because I feel really bad, but I, I walked right up to the gate and made myself like right to the gate, like away, and just beelined past him. I think he was talking to another fan though.
Oh, okay, good.
I don't know though, because I did not make eye contact, but I was as soon as I took the picture with Katana and Kaden, I made sure to run
Oh my
past him.
gosh.
Cause I don't know, guys. Like I said, I could have taken a picture with him, but I didn't know what to say. Like imagine me sick by myself, already having anxiety. At this point I didn't have that much anxiety, but I'm congested, I'm like
Yeah.
I'm feeling like shit. So I'm like, I really just do not want to talk to this man. I don't know what to say to him. It's like, I don't know. So I like ran past him. I felt really guilty about it. Trust me. You don't need to come for me. I already came for myself. It was so disrespectful. But
Oh
anyways,
my
then
god.
I experienced some of the other stuff, and the fan access is actually really cool.
Yeah.
Like I would definitely go again. There was a lot to do and a lot to see. But then I had tickets to meet Nikki Bella.
Mhm.
And then I got into line and meet Nikki Bella, and you guys know she was on Total Divas. She recently just made her return, and she's been on Raw, in a storyline. So I get up and I meet her, and oh my god, when I tell you my mind went blank,
It
but
went
here's the thing, because I ended up meeting Nikki Bella twice. I was talking to one of my friends, And when you meet a celebrity at like a photo op, or I met her, I was watching her podcast live, and before she walked in,
I'm pretty sure
I
you
met
were.
her.
I'm pretty sure you were texting me, like
I
right.
was texting you because I'm a person where sometimes I need validation, guys. I hate it, but I'm like, did I make the right choice? Was this bad? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, not that I did anything embarrassing, but
Mhm.
I think when you're in an interaction like that, it doesn't feel like a normal conversation.
Right.
So you're trying to like say all of this stuff to this person in a span of like 20 seconds.
Yeah, it
Like
feels rushed.
it feels very rushed. It's not a natural, because if you think a natural human conversation, you walk up like, "Hi, how are you?" And they're like, "How good? How are you?" Like, so, and the
Yeah.
conversation just starts flowing. But when in my head, I'm like, I have like 10 seconds
Yeah, you're
to
like,
say
oh my
everything.
god, hi, how are you? I love you.
Well, I wasn't like spazzy like that,
Right,
thank God.
but I mean, but that's what you think those
sick
conversations.
brain, I'm not. My brain's already foggy.
Mm-hmm.
So when I met her at Fan Access, which I had tickets for, I was like, "Hi, Nikki. I've called into your podcast because if I've left a voicemail on their podcast, they encourage people to call in. I'm not like a creeper. Like they like when people call and leave voicemails and they answer fan questions on their podcast. So I've called in a couple times and I've met them virtually over the pandemic. So I've had interactions with them. Plus, they shared the Pride video that we did. I've had interactions with mostly Nikki a lot, but also Brie. So I was like, yeah, I've called in. Like, I don't know if you remember me. And like, judging by her face, I was like, nah, she don't remember me. Cause she was like, yeah. And I was like, love your podcast. I've called in a couple times. She's like, I love that. Like, love that you called in. And she was so sweet.
Yeah.
Like, Nikki Bella was so sweet. When I was walking away, she like grabbed my arm. She was like, we love that you call in and leave voicemails. Like, keep doing that. Thank you for the support. I was like, oh my gosh. Cause I was trying to, go fast because I didn't want to hold up the line.
Right.
So that was really cool, but I ended up going to bed really early every night because, like I said, I was sick. I was taking freaking Mucinex like three times a day.
And then if you're walking that much too, I'd be exhausted.
In the sun.
Yeah, I'd be
while
exhausted.
you're sick, I'm like, bruh, this is not it. That's what I'm saying. I had really low lows where I was like, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I'm sweating. I'm sick. And then I had really high highs where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just met Nikki Bella and I took a picture with her and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But then the following day I went to go watch their podcast live because they were in the Sirius XM studios in, I think it's the Bellagio, or no, I don't know, the Wynn Hotel.
Okay.
So basically the Sirius XM has a little window where you can watch them do their podcast live, and over the speakers they play the episode through. So like I said, I'm by myself. I don't have anything else to do, and they posted about it. It was at 9 a.m. So I'm there with a couple other fans. But I'm not one of those people that like rushes celebrities. Like I'm never like that. I really treat them like human beings.
Yeah.
So some people like rushed up on them. And I'll admit, I wasn't wearing any Nikki Bella merchandise just because honestly, guys, red is not my color. It makes me look really red. So I did have a Nikki Bella shirt, but it got kind of sunburnt. And so I put it on and I was like, my face looks like a tomato in this. So I'm not about to wear red.
Right.
So red's not my color. And I feel like if I would have worn a Nikki Bella shirt, like maybe she would have been more like, oh my gosh, like, but maybe I just felt like a random. I don't know. So anyways, so they're walking up. Some people like kind of rush up to them and have them like sign stuff. I'm kind of standing back. Brie walks into the studio because they were about to record their podcast. And I was like, oh, hi, Nikki. And she was like, oh my gosh, I remember you from yesterday because I met her the day before.
Well, that's good that she remembered you.
She remembered me. And I was like, yeah, like, and she was taking a picture. And I was like, love the podcast. She was like, thank you so much. And then she was so sweet. She was like, do you want to take a selfie real quick? And I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, like totally. And so I hold the camera up. My hand is shaking. Because like I said, I just had drinking caffeine and I think I should have stayed away from the caffeine, guys. Because not that I had anxiety in that day, but I was nervous because I was trying to take a selfie. And then I literally turned around to her and I was like, not me shaking right now. And she was like, I love it. And she like grabbed me. I was like, I'm so embarrassed because I'm like, I look like a freaking idiot.
Oh my God.
But I mean,
I feel like out of anybody, like she understands.
No,
like,
I think she gets it.
People in that like sort of position understand that like it's a big moment for you. like because you're like, oh my god, like you want to
But
take
I
a
don't
selfie
get
with
like
me?
I
Like
don't
okay.
get like that with celebrities. I really don't. And not that I've met a lot of
No, but
celebrities,
sometimes
but
when you drink a lot of caffeine, though, you're gonna be like
plus
jittery.
sick, I had not eaten anything either. So I was like sick, tired, hungry, all of the above. Did not expect her to say like let's take a selfie because they said, "Oh my god, are you sure? Like I know you have to record your podcast." And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." I was like, "Oh
I bet I
god."
would have asked her, are you sure? She'd be like, oh, never
I know.
mind.
Well, I was getting my phone out and I was like, "Oh my gosh, are you sure? Like I know you have to go." But because I know that Brie already walked in, so I was like, I don't want to hold you up, you know?
Uh-huh.
But then I was talking to my friend and I was like, that's where it comes in with these like it feels unnatural. Like it feels very rushed. I think
Yes.
that's why I get anxiety when talking to people in a rushed setting. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a celebrity,
Yeah.
but anytime you feel rushed talking to another person, I
Your
think
mind
it's
just
just
goes
like
your mind just goes blank,
you
especially if
can't.
you have things that you want to say. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, I feel so rushed. Like I don't even know what to say. Your mind just goes blank.
There's so much I feel like I wanted to say, but it's just the fact that it didn't feel, and I'm not expecting them to stop everything they're doing and have a conversation with me, but I think that's like a factor into why like the anxiety happened. And
Yeah.
plus, I'm by myself. Like it's kind of crazy, and this was on like the third day. But then guys, the biggest thing, the freaking grand finale. So I had tickets to go to this nightclub, and if you know me, I'm not a clubber. I'm a morning person, and I had to be up at 4 a.m. the next day
Oh,
for my flight because my flight took off at something like 6:30 in the morning or something
why
ridiculous like
did you
that.
pick such early
Well,
flights?
so it was cheaper, first of all.
Mm, yeah.
Second of all, Saturday, which was the day I flew out, was WrestleMania and NXT Stand and Deliver, which NXT, the event, I think started at like 10. So
I
I knew
remember
I
when
wanted to
we
watch.
I
Yeah,
remember when
remember
we
we were
went
like dead and we were like,
we
what the
went to
hell?
NXT in the morning and then we went to WrestleMania later on
And when it was in
in
LA.
the same day. Like
Yeah.
that was I mean, it was so much fun, but it felt like not real because we were like we went to literally 2 events in one day.
We were like disassociating because we're like, we had caffeine, but we're like, we need food. We need something. We're like falling
I
asleep.
remember I was like spacing out in the morning at NXT because it was in the morning. It was
It was like 10 a.m.
it
I
was
think. Something
so
crazy like that.
well, I think it was like 9 or something
It was
because
so early.
I was spacing. I was like, what's happening? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't like, like I don't really follow NXT as much. Like, I don't even like I do know like Raw and SmackDown. Like, I follow those people a little bit more,
Yeah.
but not like as much as you do.
Mm-hmm.
But like NXT, like I really don't know anything. Like
NXT is more like, I don't even know if I want to say it. It's like more like developmental.
I
So
give it
it's like,
I give it like I would say they're like the rookies, if
yeah,
you will.
it's just like a place where people go to prepare them for like a bigger stage for like the
Right.
main roster. But anyways, so I booked those flights because I wanted to get home early enough so I could watch the event,
Right. Mhm.
So, and everything sounds so amazing when you're booking it. I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. And I booked the flight before I knew about this nightclub event. So I didn't know that this was happening because, like I said, I booked it a year in advance. None of this stuff was announced yet. So there's this YouTube channel called Ring the Bell, which is hosted by an LGBTQ fan.
Mhm.
Like he's a gay man. And another, it's hosted by a woman as well. And they like talk women's wrestling and everything. I watched their YouTube channel a lot. And they were hosting like this event for like gay fans where they were going to have a bunch of the old divas there. Not like old, but like past divas, like
Mhm.
legends. So if you know me personally, growing up, my favorite wrestler was always Alicia Fox. It was her and the Bella Twins always. But when I was, younger, like really young, I just really loved Alicia Fox.
Mhm.
And she was going to be there. She was announced. And we were supposed to have her on our podcast.
I was like, yeah.
So she was supposed to come on our podcast a couple of years ago when we were back at Dream Attraction, but it fell through. So it was her, Kelly Kelly, and Gail Kim that were announced for this event. And so I was like, shit, it started at like 10 p.m. and I had to be up at 4. So I was like,
Ooh.
okay. I was like, let me go because I already had my ticket. I was going by myself, which, like I said, guys, I don't go out to nightclubs even with a group of friends, let alone by myself. I was still sick. I was sleep deprived. I was on Mucinex. So I'm going out to this nightclub in an Uber.
I would say like since Alicia Fox was there, I feel like
I
it
had
just it was
to.
worth it because
My
like he's been such a big fan of her for a long
since I was
time.
like since probably like 2008.
Yeah,
How old
so
was I? Like young, yeah,
because I don't think
young.
you've ever like really met her before, other than like when you went to that
At
show.
Drop the Mic,
Yeah.
I was front row. And so I like waved to her and she's liked a couple of my posts or whatever. But now she follows me on Instagram.
Yeah.
So now we've connected. So this is the thing, guys, is like I think the message and the moral of the story, I'm gonna tell the rest of the story, not to sidetrack a bit, but is even if it scares you, even if you have anxiety, even if it feels like, oh my gosh, can I do this? What I learned from this solo trip is just do it because these are memories now that I have for a lifetime. Like meeting Nikki Bella twice, experiencing the Nikki and Bree show live, and watching Nikki and Bree record their podcast, sharing with Delaney like notes I've picked up from them. Like, oh, they have notes in front of them and they have someone giving them cues. And I was just really looking at all the filming. Like I was listening to what they were saying, but I was looking at the filming and they recorded 3 back-to-back episodes with interviews.
Mm-hmm.
So and then staying like going to the fan access. Like I have all these memories I would have never done if I would have just chickened out the morning of, which honestly no one would have blamed me for with being sick and
No, like
everything. I think that people would have understood, but I just was so devoted. I was like, I already spent like $500 to $600 on this trip between the hotel, the flights, my ticket for the nightclub event to meet Nikki Bella, the fan access is probably $700 closer. I don't know. It was almost 1,000 maybe. So I'm like, that's money is going down the drain just because of I'm scared. Like, hell no. I'm like, I'm not backing out of this. I've committed. I want to do this. So I'm at this nightclub and I see Alicia Fox walk in. And I'm kind of sitting there. I'm sitting off to the side and she's with her like man. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to. And she's talking to the host of the thing. So I'm like, I'm not going to, you know, bother her. They had a drag. So I was kind of sitting outside. They had an outdoor kind of patio. It was cold too. So I was like, oh my gosh. But they had a drag show go on first.
Oh, nice.
And it was these 2 drag performers that performed before the actual event started.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching kind of the drag show from the back, and which I'd never been to a drag show before either. So then I'm like, look back out, and I was
You're
like,
just doing a bunch of things you haven't
doing
done.
a bunch of things I haven't done, and by myself. I'm like, okay, pop off, you know? So then Alicia Fox posted a story because I was like, oh, damn, I really would love to say hi to her. I just don't know where she is because I saw that her, Kelly, and Gail Kim were kind of in the crowd.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where they were. And I really wanted to meet Alicia Fox the most. So she posted a story from her kind of like perspective of the drag show. And I was like, oh my God, she was standing right by me.
Yeah.
So I went to where it was. And sure enough, she was standing there talking to fans. And people were lining up. And like I said, guys, like I'm not one to like rush to people. There were a lot of people surrounding her. I could tell she was getting a little bit like overwhelmed. And so I was like, let me stand back. I don't want to like come off as too pushy or rude. Mm-hmm. So then she was like, oh my God, I love your coat. And I was like, hi. And then we kind of were just talking and our like arms were like interlocked and we were talking.
I love that.
We had a moment. She's a Cancer. So I feel like she just felt my energy.
Yeah. It's the Cancer
we're
rising.
Rising Cancers. But she's a Cancer sun sign, I think.
It's like now the second time I mentioned that.
Exactly. We just always mention that about ourselves.
You'll learn our main 3 throughout this.
Exactly.
Throughout this. And then you can decide whether or not you like us or not.
But we were really connecting, I felt. And it wasn't like a long conversation, but it was more of like a conversation where I didn't have anxiety at all because we were having a human-to-human conversation.
You guys were making each other feel comfortable.
I didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm feeling rushed. I have to get all this stuff out. I have like 10 seconds to say what I need to say. It felt just like a natural, normal conversation.
Right.
So I was able to tell her like that, you know, we were supposed to have her on the podcast. She remembered the whole podcast thing because we had been messaging, DMing before then about the podcast when she was supposed to come on.
Yeah.
She felt so bad. And I said, don't even feel bad, girl. I was like, I get it. And we just had this connection and we were just talking on a deeper level just about life and stuff. And then she had to go for the show and she was like, we'll continue this conversation later.
We'll continue.
But little did she know, after the event and after she made her announcement, they had the little catwalk competition that they did. I had to leave. leave
You're
because
like, I gotta go.
I had to sleep at least 3 to 4 hours, guys. I was like, I can't pull an all-nighter, especially when I'm sick.
Right.
So it was fun. I think the moral of the story is I had a lot of fun. I remember sitting in the airport at 6:30 and putting a collage of stuff together and just thinking to myself, I was just filled with joy. Like I was like, I'm so happy
I feel
that
that
I went.
I feel like that trip, like you were meant to experience that moment with Nikki, with Alicia. Like you were supposed to do all those things with them because those are like you were able to make a connection with Alicia Fox and it was, you know, natural. Like it was
Yeah.
and it was like real and enough to where she followed you on Instagram and you guys are like I, friends is like kind of a weird
I don't know what I would say it, but
like
I
you
mean
guys are
we had like a good conversation in the short amount of time that we did. It was I would say
right.
it was only like a minute, but we got a selfie with her too. So we have a picture together and everything. And so
Yeah.
it was just something I feel like I had to experience by myself. And I think that childhood me would be really proud of me
Like this is
because
someone you looked up to and it's really
both
cool.
Nikki and Alicia Fox, like it was just crazy to
It was
meet
just
both of
cool.
them.
It was just cool that you got an experience like that. Like you had like a real life interaction. I would say more so with Alicia Fox. Like you had like locking arms together and you're talking.
Yeah.
Like you know and she's like we're going to continue this later cuz she still like wants to talk to you like and she knows like you we were going to have her on the podcast and so you talked to her one on one. Like I think she's looking more so of like not you as a fan, like somebody that's like, you know, not maybe not necessarily on the
Like
same
another
level.
human being, another
Yes.
human being, not just like, oh, they're just some fan. And like, they say don't meet your heroes, but sometimes your heroes end up turning out to be amazing people. And that's
Yeah.
what my experience with both Nikki and Alicia Fox were. Like, they're
Right.
both incredibly sweet individuals, sweet human beings. And so, yeah, I'm so happy I went. So if you're thinking about taking a trip and you're like, I've always wanted to go to this place, but I don't know if I can get someone to go with me, the thing I've learned from my 20s is that just freaking do it.
Mhm.
You will be so happy you did. I had so many amazing memories I made, and I just told you guys like the big ones. There were so many more that we could talk about, but we're running out of time. And so, yeah, I mean, WrestleMania is going to be in Vegas again next year.
Which is crazy. I'm
So
like, wait, what?
maybe we do it again. Maybe you come with me this time. Maybe a friend
Maybe.
comes. Maybe I go by myself again. I don't know. Maybe I don't go this time. But
We'll
I just
see.
am happy I experienced it once. I'm not clamoring to go again because I already did it. But if I could go, I would.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was just a good, like, feel good episode about doing things by yourself, even if it's just going to that coffee shop you've been wanting to try or
Yeah.
going to the beach. It doesn't have to be taking a trip. It's just doing something that you've wanted to do and you maybe can't find anyone to do it with. Just go.
If
Because
it's
you
if
will
it's
literally
something
be so happy with yourself.
if it's something you really want to do and you have plans to go with someone and it falls through, are you going to cancel it or are you going
No.
to still go and do it? I feel like you should still go and do it if it's something you really want to do. Like don't wait for somebody else to do it with you if it's something you want